tanking actually was legit there. Hello and welcome. Aquanister here, back with another video, and today we are looking at the long-awaited Flail tank build. Now, last season I liked to tank quite a bit, and this season I knew I was going to want to tank with the Flail, but obviously I wanted to get my healer and my DPS builds done first, so it was finally time to start focusing on the tank build, and I gotta say I'm having a lot more fun with it than I thought I was going to in both PvE and PvP. Before we fully get into today's video, I do just want to say if this video helps you out or if you just like it, please drop it a like. It really does help me out a lot. And if you'd like to see more content like this as well as other future content, definitely subscribe to the channel so you're notified when those videos do go live. I also stream throughout the week on Twitch. I may be streaming on YouTube soon, so keep an eye out for that. But if you'd like to stop by a stream, definitely swing on over. We'd love to have you, lurk, hang out, chat, anything like that. We like to have some fun and just hang out on stream. But let's get into today's video. Okay, so as always, we are going to get started with looking at the gear. So we'll start with the armor, and then we'll work our way through the rest of that. So starting with armor, the route that I wanted to go with this build was full health and grit ward. So I'll just start out by saying right now, all 5 pieces of my gear will have health and grit ward. The third perk is where it's going to change. Now, as a tank, I wasn't sure what I wanted for that third perk for sure. I thought maybe an aversion or something like that, but I really didn't know going into it. But then I started really thinking about me as a tank, whether I'm PvEing or PvPing, what is one thing that really hurts me as a tank, and that is essentially if I don't have invigorated, then all of the weaken, disease, exhaust, and rend all stays on me longer. So by stacking 3 out of the 4 stacks, that gives me quite a bit of reduction in that duration of those things that really as a tank are going to kill me the most. Obviously weaken isn't as big, but obviously it does make it so my damage output is less. Disease means that I'm going to die if I'm continuously taking damage and those heals aren't helping. Exhaust, obviously if I run out of stamina, that's no good, especially since I can't block. And then rend, of course, is reducing my armor. So overall, I found that invigorated was kind of the way to go for my build and the way I really liked it. So with our helmet, we also had the invigorated, chest invigorated, and gloves invigorated. So those are my 3 stacks. You could run 4, definitely. It's just I only have 3 right now. For the pants, we ended up going with vigor because I ended up getting these pants either, I think I got these for free or for very, very cheap. We went with those. And then for the boots, I have refreshing. So we do have 3 stacks of refreshing on the build overall. It does help out a bit as far as just getting that cooldown back. But again, invigorated, I think as a tank is really, really good option to go for both PvE and PvP. For my shield, I actually ended up pulling the shield from a mutated dungeon. So we got sturdy energy, refreshing, shield defense. Honestly, all 4 really good perks. You could replace the refreshing with something else, fortifying shield rush or anything like that. But for now, this is what I've really liked. Let's see. Let's hop into jewelry next. So for the jewelry, I am running Ankh, and I did level it up to have stamina recovery. Stamina recovery is a phenomenal perk, especially since they buffed it up to 105. It's only a 30-second cooldown, so in those 30 seconds, you just want to stay alive and all that, keep blocking. Works really, really well, though, as a tank. For my ring, now my ring's kind of in a goofy spot because ideally for my ring, what I want as a tank is hardy, probably enfeebling, and then maybe leeching or something like that. But honestly, the hardy slash damage is really nice, and the privateer's heirloom you can actually craft with materia. So the fact that you can craft it with materia, I went with it, and purifying heart's not a bad third perk. It is still useful, so I just stuck with it. It's a 700 ring. Honestly, the slash damage with hardy works really, really well anyways with my sword. So again, if you want a free ring, definitely craft this with materia. It's free, free 700 ring with full strength, guaranteed hardy and slash damage. For my earring, now this is one that I just pulled. It's a Refreshing Toast, Nimble, Refreshing. Again, Refreshing Toast, Nimble are the 2 perks that I really, really wanted for my earring for my tanking build. The third perk was kind of up in the air. Refreshing's not all that bad though. Again, more cooldown reduction. For the weapons, with the Flail, we did end up going with Odo, and I ended up putting a gem slot in it so we could actually put a carnelian in it. Because I'm not running the stopwatch for my amulet, I wanted to make sure that I could still taunt with the Flail, because the Flail taunts are actually really, really nice. You do get an AoE taunt with it as well. And the other thing too, by running Odo, the Odo's defense on block heal for 5% base damage. The really cool thing with that is currently it is applying towards the sword and shield blocking as well. So you can actually get the sword and shield, get into that stance of just, sitting there, taking the damage reduction, and then also healing up as well. So it works really, really well. Plus lifesteal, refreshing move. Overall, really, really good flail for tanking. For my sword, I went a little different route, and this is actually going to give you a little hint into what the build's going to look like. We have the Tai longsword, similar to my life staff, the Tai life staff. I ended up having the longsword, which gets refreshing move and trenchant rend, and then I crafted it up in order to get empowering whirling blade. So I really, really like it. I think it works great with a tanking build because again, you're aggroing so much stuff. But essentially with the whirling blade, when 3 or more enemies are within its radius while performing a whirling blade attack, gain 52% base damage. So you actually do quite a bit more damage with 3 or more people around you, which again, as a tank, when you're taunting stuff, a lot of times you're going to have that, or in OPR, you're kind of in the middle of the main fight. So really good sword, really easy to farm, similar to my life staff farming video. You can find the same Tai longsword in that same spot. I can put a link to that video down below so you know where you can go and farm it. But that's what we're doing for gear. For the heart rune, I've actually really been liking the Primal Fury heart rune because we have more HP, so we can kind of get away with running it. But honestly, if you want to go for just full tank mode, just go with Stone Form. Stone Form is phenomenal for a tank especially, and I would just go with that if you just want to really increase that survivability. All right, so that's all the gear. Pretty straightforward as far as the armor goes and all of that. You can definitely mess around with some different perks, see what works better for you. But so far, this has been working really, really well for me. I've been doing OPRs, M1s, M2s. I haven't done any M3s yet with this build. I haven't swapped gems and all that stuff out yet. But honestly, so far, I'm really, really happy with the build. All right, next, let's go take a look over at the attributes and then have a look at the mastery itself. Okay, so taking a look at the attributes here, you can see we have a pretty straightforward layout. So with my 48 con food, I get up to 350 con because we get the extra 10% damage reduction while you have active grip. So we get that damage reduction, plus we have all of our armor, and then we also have the grit from our basic attacks because of the 300. So it works really, really well with this build. And then for the strength side of it, I do go up to 250. I did consider dropping 50 strength in order to get 50 focus, which I tried it a little bit. And honestly, having the 33% stamina regen rate while performing basic melee attacks is just so good with grit because we're running 300 to 350 con. It works so well with grit that like sit there, block, lose your stamina, start swinging. You're going to get all that stam back 33% faster, back to blocking. And that whole time you're swinging, you have grit, so you're taking less damage as well. So it works really, really well. But again, if you don't think that you care about that stamina regen, which you don't necessarily have to go with, try running the 50 focus and see how you like it, because you get the 10% incoming healing, plus you get another 5% reduction on your cooldown. So it honestly works really, really well. And again, focus works with the flail, so it's not like it's a total loss of attribute points and you're just going for perks. It is still useful for the flail. It's just not going to benefit your sword as much. So that's what we're looking at for the attributes. All right, so now we are going to get into the actual weapon builds themselves. So we'll start with Sword and Shield because this is a newer tanking build for me. Now, normally I would just go pretty much full right tree with Shield Bash, Shield Rush, all that. But now that we have the Flail, we have extra taunts with it and a little bit more defensive side. So the way I have my tanking build set up is so my Sword and Shield is almost more of a DPS side of it. It's still tanky, still very good at keeping me alive. But with the Whirling Blade and the stacks of Rend that I can apply with it, you can kind of go crazy with the damage. Not, well, crazy for a tank, I should say. But it's not bad at all if you stack all the Rend. So the way we go with it is obviously Whirling Blade, Shield Rush, and then Defender's Resolve. And the left tree, all we're going with is the Empowered Stab, the Achilles Heel, so then we apply 15% Rend with the end of our light attack chain. And then when we block, we gain a stack of 3% Empower up to 5 stacks. So 15% empowerment if we just sit there blocking. And then on the right tree, we go for more defensive side. So we go for sturdy shield. So we get extra physical armor. We get damage reduction to all magic types. Stamina damage is reduced by 15% when blocking a melee attack. When you block, you gain fortify. I did not go with the range attack. You could definitely go with the range stam reduction if you want, and maybe drop like this. But honestly, I like getting the 20% fortified just for blocking. Final blow. So with this one, for PVE, it's nice because you gain more threat. For PVP, you're doing more damage. Well, and for PVE, you're doing more damage. All incoming healing generation. So that's really, really nice to have an extra 10% on top of that. And then, of course, we go with defensive formation. So we can kind of just hold that right click, turtle up, let our cooldowns get back, let our health regain a little bit, and then give all of our allies, especially in like OPR, you'll see me kind of holding right click on point, just trying to give all the allies that extra 30% damage reduction. So overall, really, really happy with this sword build. As far as applying rend, how I was saying you can apply a lot of rend, you can apply up to about 45% rend on an enemy. So we have Trenchant Rend, which is approximately, 15% rend with a heavy attack. We have the final attack in your light attack chain inflicts 15% rend, so that's 30%. It's only a 2% rend. So the way I normally do it is we're going to do our heavy attack, and then we're going to do a whirling blade, because with whirling blade, it inflicts a 15% rend for 10 seconds. So we do a heavy attack, grants us the 30% empowerment, right? Then that heavy attack also is applying the Trenchant Rend, and then followed up by the whirling blade. So now our whirling blade has the 30% empowerment, plus a 15% rend, plus we're adding another 15% rend. And then if we just start lighting attacking afterwards, we then apply another 15% rend. So you're applying a ton of rend to the enemies with a sword and shield. Normally, if I were worrying about applying rend and all that, I would just kind of go with a spear. But in this case, you can actually apply a ton of rend just with a sword. You just have to stack it and like do it correctly, because obviously your light attacks, it's only a 2-second rend. So if you end with that, by the end of your light attack chain, you're at essentially 3 stacks of rend on an enemy. So it works really, really well. I'm really, really happy with it. All right, let's take a look at the Flail now. So with the Flail, we went a little bit different route than some of the other tanks that we've seen. And the main difference is Arcane Smite. So I really like the idea of Arcane Smite because we are applying the weaken. And it's a pretty massive weaken if we can get the enemy to stay in that kind of pool of impairment or whatever it is. So I really like it. Plus, we gain 30% fortify for 6 seconds when Smite is activated. So literally just by using Smite, we now have 30% fortify. Really, really nice fortify for a tank, for a heavy armor and all that. So those are the two big things with Arcane Smite as to why I wanted to go with it. And then you also get to apply the lifesteal. So in terms of functionality for your team and yourself, it works so well. Now, I know you can also go with the Arcane Vortex, another really, really good ability. You apply the empowerment, you have the cleansing, all that. Can definitely go that route. Smite is just the route that I really like. It works great for me. All right, let's keep on the cleric side. So up top here, we did go with the Way of Superiority. So when we are getting hit or blocking a hit, we get cooldown reduction. I did like going with the spiky impairment. So being hit or blocking a hit from a melee attack while above 9% inflicts a stack of impairment. So as someone's hitting my shield, if they're a melee, if I'm above 90% health, I'm inflicting that impairment on them every single time they hit me, up to 3 stacks. Vital Embrace, so while at or below 50% health, all flail attacks grant 33% lifesteal while attacking targets. While above 50% health, all flail attacks extend the duration of damage over time effects on the targets by 7%. So that's a pretty nice ability to have. It's one that you might not necessarily notice all the time, but over time, it is actually helping quite a bit. Leader of the pack, so when no allies are within 5 meters, all your flail attacks do 10% more base damage. When 1 or more allies are within 5 meters, they gain in power, increasing their damage dealt by 5%. So just a nice empowerment for you or the team. All right, on the Bastion side, we did end up going with Barrage and Warding Bludgeon. Warding Bludgeon is a fantastic taunt as well. It's an 8-meter AoE taunt. I mean, just like Hashig, just like Sword and Shield, really, really good taunt. And then at the bottom here, we do get the Best Friends. So it actually will connect a link to an ally, essentially, and power them and decrease the damage taken. So it's a very interesting thing because it like throws me off because it sounds like a tether from a Void Gauntlet. So there are times in OPR where like I'll hear it and I'll see the tether and I'm like starting to look around for an enemy and realize it's my own. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe they should change the sound effects or the look of some of the new tethers, but yeah, it does help though. It is really nice. And then, of course, with Barrage, we have the dash, and then we can apply all the Fortify from the Barrage. We do get Grit while we have it because we have a Tower Shield. Overall, Barrage is a really, really nice ability, and then we also get to apply Fortify to our allies within the radius, which is a 20% Fortify. So again, for dungeons and stuff where everyone's just kind of like stacked on the boss, you just double tap that, so then just slams it right where you're at, and then you grant everyone Fortify. So really, really nice ability. Plus, it does taunt if you hit the enemy. For our passives, we did go with a Vital Suppressant, so while at about 50% health, reduce damage taken by 4%, so just a nice damage reduction, and then while below 50% health, reduce the attacker's stamina damage dealt by blocking by 10%. So just allows you to block, kind of heal up a little bit, and take a little less stam damage. And then we do have the mitigated protection. So in heavy armor, which is what we're running, we get a 5% absorption at full health, increasing to a max of 20% mitigation as health decreases. So really a nice damage mitigation there, especially in the heavy armor. And then for the last one, we go with the Reinforced Vitality, which I think is a just phenomenal perk. Most all of my Flail builds are going to have it because it's essentially just extra health, extra HP, just for having the Flail equipped. So really, really nice perk. But as you can see, we did not go with either of the ultimates at the bottom here. I don't like the tether because I don't like the fact that I'm taking more damage. So in PvP, I end up taking too much damage with it. For PvE, it works fine, but I'm not a huge fan of that one. And then I really didn't need this because the healing scales with focus. And honestly, if I'm kind of like holding shield, I'm probably going to be with my sword and shield out most of the time for that. Kind of depending on the situation. So I ended up just utilizing that extra point and putting it into some of the other passives. And honestly, been very, very, very happy with this build. It works for me, but again, if it does not work for you, if you feel like something needs to tweak or change with it, definitely change it, see what works for you, and let me know in the comments if some of those changes actually work better for you, because maybe I'll try it out, maybe I'll see if it works for me. I've tried a few different combos, and this is just kind of what I landed on that I was happy with.
Watanga lupes patanches. Ye yama wangshus kiltagol. A magnum goal.
All right, that is going to do it for today's video. So thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Like I said earlier, if you did like this video, if it helped you out, please drop it a like. And if you'd like to see more content like this, definitely subscribe to the channel so you are notified when those new videos go live. And I do stream throughout the week on Twitch. So if you want to stop by a stream, we would love to have you say hello, lurk, anything like that. But that is going to do it for today's video. So until next time, I'll see you guys later.